Welcome into the Illini Inquirer podcast. Jeremy Werner, Derek Piper, live in Boston. Derek got TD Garden Arena behind him, and I am in the media room here as we're covering a Sweet 16 here. Derek, number 2 seed Iowa State gets number 3 seed Illinois. We're recording this Wednesday evening around 6 local time, so we still got like 28 hours before this game tips off, but it's cool to be here, man.
Look at us, Werner. Look at us. We were covering an NIT at some point, watching selection show from home, and we're at the Sweet 16. So we've just been following along. I haven't made any shots this season or anything like that. I'm not trying to take any credit, but it's a lot of fun. Really cool venue, and can't wait for Thursday night.
Yeah, I was about to say we should get all the credit for this, right? All the hard work, the sweat, the big shots made, big stops made. Not as many of those, but a lot of big shots made for this team. But what a phenomenal matchup, Derek. We've talked about it all week. I had Michael Tulip on. We just heard from Alec Bussey, who covers Iowa State. If you missed that interview on the YouTube channel, go back, listen to that. Another great breakdown of the Cyclones. But let's focus. Let's do 5 keys here for Illinois against Iowa State in their first Sweet 16 matchup in 19 years. I'll give you the floor. Key number 1 for Illinois against Iowa State, and it's number 1 ranked defense nationally.
You got to limit turnovers. That's obviously a huge thing. It's something that Brad Underwood talked a lot about throughout this press day today. And you look at the analytics, they're number 2 in the country and forcing turnovers. And I think that's something that's really going to test Brad Underwood's roster build with this team. As you look at Marcus Damask being your essential point guard now, you weren't able to get a true point guard in the portal, swung and missed there. So I think, can you run your offense, not get disruptive? Because Iowa State's ball pressure is really disruptive. They get into you deep into the backcourt. They definitely want to turn a team that doesn't score it all that well, turn defense into offense. So I think for Illinois, you've got to limit those pick sixes, as Brad talked about today. And can you just be able to be ball tough, get into your offense, and not get just overwhelmed with the Iowa State team that's going to play their butts off and really get into you and try to make you uncomfortable.
Illinois actually has been pretty decent this year, despite that lack of a true point guard, of not turning the ball over, Derek. 53rd in the country in turnover rate, which is a positive there. Obviously going up against a different team, though. Like, they haven't faced anything like this. Luke Goody compared what Iowa State does to Nebraska, but Iowa State's got better athletes, quicker athletes, especially on the perimeter there, probably better rim protection than Nebraska as well, because Alec is not a rim protector. Rink Mask is not a rim protector. So how do you expect Illinois to handle that pressure? And it's a different kind of pressure, not always full court, right? It's a lot of trapping, a lot of overhelping, and they get in rotation a lot, which could open up some three-pointers we'll talk about here. But how do you expect Marcus Damask and Terrence Shannon, Ty Rogers, Coleman Hawkins to deal with that?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think that there obviously are reference points on both sides of it. I think in spots, Illinois has had those issues really come to fruition where the Penn State game, you turn over 19 times. I thought late at Michigan State, obviously, when you melt down there, turnovers were a big problem. But like you said, on the whole, this has been an offense that has, for the most part, taken care of the ball. So I trust Marcus in terms of knowing where double teams are coming from. He's done a great job of that all year. It is going to be executing in the moment and not getting too sped up or having something that surprises him as far as the scheme standpoint goes. But using those double teams to your advantage to create some open shots. And then, of course, that's going to hit on another key that we're going to talk about. You got to be able to make those as you pass out of those things. So I think that bringing that help, though, if you see Marcus struggling a little bit deep in the backcourt as he's trying to get it across half court, if they are extending it deep, I think at least inside of the half court line, they will be looking to get 30 feet now to get into you and try to make you uncomfortable. To have an outlet guy, a guy that can take some pressure off. Maybe it's even Coleman Hawkins at times coming out there and being able to just shoulder a little bit of the load and allow you to settle into your offense a little bit more. So they're going to try to bother Terrence and try to make it hard for him to get downhill. Yes, like you said, the rotations are all about really clogging up the lane. They're going to just get magnetized towards that paint and then leave some of the corner shooters and some other guys on the perimeter open and try to recover and close out. They're fine with you taking threes. So I think Illinois will have their moments of turning it over. You just hope it's not a rash of turnovers like 14, 15 because then you get into some real trouble.
Yeah, I do think it's going to be a big Coleman Hawkins game. I think he's going to be the ball in his hands a lot, and his decision making, his shot making is going to be really important in this one. My key number 2 here, Derek, for us, I'm going to go offensive rebound, and I'm going to steal it from Luke Goody. I had this as a key. I'm sure you will too in your 3 keys in the pick, but Illinois is one of the best offensive rebound teams in the country, 16th in the country, while Iowa State, not a great defensive rebounding team, 196th in the country. There are open opportunities. And Luke Goody said, our goal is to get 40% of our offensive, to get 40% of the rebounds on our offensive side. And for a team that does allow a lot of threes, a team that is not the best defensive rebounding team, this is where you want Dane Danger, Quincy Guerrier, even a Luke Goody, right? Ty Rodgers, those guys to really clean up on that glass to get some easy points against a team that at times is going to be really hard to score against. So I think those offensive rebound opportunities are going to be huge for this team. Illinois is a better rebounding team than Iowa State. They need to own the glass.
No doubt. Yeah, it's really the one blemish at Iowa State's defensive profile is that they don't clean the glass all that well. I think in Big 12 play, they were dead last in defensive rebounding rate. So while they do everything else well, turn you over, get stops, don't allow shots at the rim, they will allow those second chance and even maybe third chances within a possession. So Illinois, that's a strength of theirs. So that's something that they really have to hone in on, where it can be tough to come by in terms of clean looks or just can be a defense that bothers you. But if you're getting an offensive rebound, obviously chances at the rim, obviously also the stats say that that's usually where you can get fouled a lot, and maybe you put some fouls on people. So their front court's athletic, but it's not like you're not dealing with a bunch of 7-footers. And that's something where when Dane's in there, he can get after it on the offensive glass. Ty can play above the rim and get some offensive boards. But I'd even look too, I know Terrence will probably be taking – ideally, a lot of those shots, Terrence can go to the offensive glass as well. I mean, this is an undersized backcourt for the most part. I think that they don't get a lot of guard rebounding. So from the perimeter group as well, I think that's an area where Illinois can get in there and go. And that is something that Illinois really will, if they can get double-digit offensive rebounds, second chance points, that's something to kind of counteract some other parts of Iowa State's defense that can make your offense a little bit more ugly than you'd like.
All right, Derek, I'll hand key number 3 to this game over to you.
Transition. I know you can say that pretty much about any game with Illinois and Terrence Shannon, but especially with the way that Iowa State executes in their half-court defense, you don't want them to get set back there and play really in their rotations like we talked about and to be in their comfort zone. So I think you can hit them quick in transition, open the floor, because their half-court defense is going to do a lot in trying to clog up driving lanes with Terrence Shannon. If you put him in the open court, it's a lot better of a situation for him to get out and go downhill. I think that's something that, looking at some of their stuff, their metrics from earlier in the season, there have been some teams that have successfully hurt them in transition. BYU was a team, did a little bit differently than maybe Illinois would. They were hitting them with threes on the break, but just that quick hitting offense, get a rebound and go. Kansas, TCU, there's some offenses that have found success doing it that way. So I think that's important for Terrence because it's so hard to just cut him off, and he could put fouls on if it's Tamin Lipsey, if it's Curtis Jones, if it's some of Keon Gilbert, some of their guards or whoever it may be, trying to get in his way. It could just be a way for Illinois to get that attack and make them play kind of in scramble mode versus if they score, you're taken out of the net, they're in their defense, and they're getting set and knowing where it's coming from. It's a lot better if you can get that stop and go.
Yeah, and those are going to be his best looks at the rim because Robert Jones, good rim protector, Hassan Ward, good rim protector for them. So they're going to clog that lane as we talked about in the half court. So to get those looks for him can get him going as well and just get those easy points, man. That's what he does. Getting those 10 transition points and 10 free throws a game, those add up, and you're going to need those against this Iowa State team. The other part of that, Derek, is getting defensive rebounds. This Iowa State team is pretty solid on the offensive glass. Like Tamin Lipsey will get after the glass. He's a big body guard, only 6'1", 200. He's got a good offensive rebound rate. Jones and Ward will get after it too. So key to getting in transition is getting those stops and getting those defensive rebounds. So that'll be big. But yeah, Shannon seemed unstoppable. But those are the points that just add up so quickly for him. All right, key number 4 for me, Derek, is the other guys need to step up and make shots. As we talked about, Iowa State's going to get the ball out of Domask's hands. They're going to try and trap that. And then you're going to get them in a rotation. You got to take advantage of that. You got to move the ball quickly against this defense because they can recover really quickly. But if you get them in rotation, you get open shots, you shoot them confidently, you're going to need Coleman Hawkins potentially to make some of those. You're going to need Quincy Guerrier, Luke Goody, maybe Justin Harmon finally gets one to go down. Feels like it's almost been, more than a month since he's made a three-pointer. Like, those guys got to be ready, be confident, and make some of those shots. Some nights you're not going to make them. You hope it's not an off shooting night, but you got to take them confidently, and you got to move that ball to the opposite side really quickly.
That really could be the difference in the game, is whether those guys can step up and make those shots, because they're going to be there. And when we talk about rotations, like the rotation itself is going to be towards the lane. So if they're going to double, they're going to send the guy from the opposite wing towards the paint and lead that skip pass open. So same thing in ball screen action. They might send 2 to the ball, and then the roll guy or even Coleman on a pop, they'll rotate over towards him, and whoever's on that opposite side in that corner or that wing is going to be left, and they're going to trust that they can close out well enough with their guys because they are athletic and they can fly around and make those type of reads and reacts. But also they'll just live with you taking jump shots. They're fine with playing the game of, we're going to turn you over. We're going to, by the stats, they allow the fewest shots at the rim in the country. So they love that about their math game that they're playing. I know Brad likes to play a math game too in terms of the way that they play defense, but this is just a different way to go about it. But you can really skew the numbers if you make those shots. Of course, you got to move the ball well enough. You got to be able to react, not be hesitant. I think that's another thing that I'm really looking forward to out of Illinois is, like, Coleman's got to take that shot if it's there. Luke Goody's got to take that shot if it's there. I like the confidence and the mindset that Luke has here recently. Like you said earlier, I think Coleman is going to be just huge in terms of being locked in and making the right plays. Quincy's got to make that shot. Justin, if he's in there, I know we haven't seen it in a while. Dre Gibbs-Lawhorn knocked down 2 in the tournament game here, late in that first half. So I think that's really, really important. Even beyond just kick out threes, I think cuts off the ball from the weak side where there's open space. Getting those complementary pieces involved and being able to score is going to be important, because this defense is elite and going to very much lock in on Domask and Shannon primarily.
Yeah, and that attention that you get from Domask and Shannon, like, that could open up things in that dunker spot for Dane Danger and Ty Rodgers. Dane mentioned that today, that they could take advantage of that. But also, even if you miss the 3 from the corner, Derek, they're rotating. Do they get a body on somebody, and you got an offensive rebound put back? So those are going to be really key for the Illini to just really stay focused on that. But Illinois also needs to stop Iowa State. Like, Iowa State's offense is not a juggernaut or anything like that, but we know it's a strong team. We know Illinois has struggled to stop teams that aren't great offensively at times. They put up 69-41 win over Houston, not an offensive masterpiece, but this team has put up 82 against Texas Tech. Can get into the high 70s here. And I think dribble penetration, Derek, is something that Illinois has struggled with, staying on guards. Terrence Shannon has done a really good job here for the most part lately. I thought Ty Rodgers was really good against Duquesne. But against Taman Lipsey, against Keshawn Gilbert, they're going to need to stop those guys, because those guys are really good at penetrating the paint and getting to where they want to go.
Definitely. Yeah, they have a lot of capable guards. When you look at Lipsey being a first-team All-Big 12 guy, obviously defense is a big calling card for him, but also just a really good table setter in the pick and roll, and can get to the rim. Like, he can get to the basket. Like you said, he's physical. He can absorb some contact. He can also just pull up and shoot it. Curtis Jones off the bench brings some scoring as a guard that can attack. Keyshawn Gilbert is their leading scorer as another guard that's 6'4" and pretty good athlete, and can slash off the dribble. So they need that, obviously, try to complement their defense with a scoring punch. And Illinois, like you mentioned, I don't worry about whoever Terrence Shannon is going to be guard. Like, that guy's going to probably have a tough night, because Terrence is just that dialed in, that athletic, that consistently impactful. It's whether Ty Rodgers, Justin Harmon, Marcus Domask, if he's on a guard, Luke Goody, if those guys can stop just dribble penetration, be strong enough and impactful enough on the ball to not allow Iowa State to get comfortable, not to get downhill, not to break you down. So that's something that Iowa State poses with those. I think that three-headed monster at guard. Uh, it's a different challenge with, and he's worth mentioning, Milan Momcilovic, who's 6'8", skilled forward that can make shots. But if you are allowing their guards to get in the lane, live in the lane, break things down, that maybe opens things up for him to get shots. And it kind of reminds me, now that they're not the same as far as a team, but, Michigan State gave Illinois a lot of problems with Tyson Walker, A.J. Hoggard going downhill. We saw even like Max Klesmit on Ty Rodgers have some that was a problematic thing at times in Madison. So there have been moments where outside of Terrence, Illinois has struggled stopping the ball. And I think that's something Illinois definitely has to be dialed into. I think that their on-ball defense and intensity has been pretty good here of late, and definitely need that to show up on Thursday.
Can't wait for this matchup. I think it's a great matchup. This Creighton, Tennessee, I just think those are the matchups that really get me excited about this Sweet 16, Derek. Late tip-off here, 10:10 local time, and probably going to be a little bit after that. But we're going to be geared up for this one. You got an X factor for me, Derek? I think it's Coleman Hawkins. I just think that rotation, his decision-making, his ability to move the ball around, even if it's a skip pass over the top to that corner three, or just his ability to make shots. Like, if they're spending all that time paying attention to Damask, and then Coleman Hawkins goes for 18 or something like that, that could be the huge difference in Illinois being able to win this game. And obviously defensively, he's big. I think he could guard Momcilovic at some point. But do you have an X factor for this game?
I think Coleman's a great pick. I'll take Quincy Guerrier for doing a little draft here. But I think that I like the way that he performed in that second round game against Duquesne, against a good team that's physical. And this is obviously a different level of athleticism and physicality. And he even said it when I talked to him in the locker room after that win there in Omaha. I was like, Iowa State is pretty much a matchup that's built for him. Like, it's a game where you think about kind of grown man basketball, gritty, tough, just a war around the basket. And Quincy's that guy that Illinois hasn't had in recent years. I know he's been inconsistent over the last month or so, but as far as offensive rebounding, we know that can be a big strength of his. He can be a double-double guy. He can be a guy defensively that has had some good moments. Other times it's been not as good. So I think that getting the locked-in version, the not out of position, the not lunging version of Quincy Guerrier is really important. And I think he's someone that Iowa State's probably going to allow to take some threes. And on the whole, Quincy's shot it pretty well this season, especially even of late. I think that he's been hovering around high 30s or so from three as far as the percentage goes. So if he can step up and make 2-3 threes, can get after on the boards, play some good defense, he could have a big say in Illinois whether they're going to move on to the Elite Eight or not.
Yeah, I think if you get that confident version of him, I think that's massive. What was the latest line? Have you seen the latest line, Derek?
I think it was Iowa State -1.5 last I saw.
I thought that moved from 3, which I think it opened up 3.5 for Iowa State. I'll give my pick. I don't even know if you picked yours because I put mine out there. I'm not trying to be a homer. I think this is a fantastic matchup. It is a true toss-up game. Two really, really good teams. I think if you're doubting Illinois, it's one, the lack of a point guard, and two, they just haven't had a win over a team like Iowa State. So that's something to question. I just sided with the team with the best player in college basketball over the last month and a half. Terrence Shannon has taken his game to another level. I love how Dane is playing at this point. Marcus Damask is locked in. So you're going to need those others to step up. But Shannon's just got that look right now that I just don't know if he will be denied in this one. Iowa State's a great chance to do that because they feel like the team most equipped to do that. But I had Illinois 82, Iowa State 79, probably higher scoring than it will be. But I just feel like Illinois' offense is just a juggernaut right now, and I think Iowa State will have some struggles with them. Tight whistle might help them. Getting to the free throw line might help Illinois.
No doubt. Yeah, no, I think that's going to be – now I think you're like me. We don't love when it's overly focused on the officiating and that can get drummed up on Twitter and whatnot. It is going to be very interesting just to see in what should be a very physical battle when Shannon decides I'm sure he will a number of times drive into the teeth of that Iowa State defense. How is it officiated? Are they going to let it go? Are they going to call fouls? so hard to square him up. But also on the flip side, Iowa State's a very handsy team, a team that's going to rake for the ball. And are they going to get called for reaches, or are they just going to let that go? Maybe they might get a wrist, the ball pops free. Are they blowing that whistle? I think that's something that's going to be really interesting to kind of evaluate.
I think you can see Brad Underwood working the officials most of the night. Yeah.
No doubt about it. So, and Illini fans are going to have a lot of time to pregame for this one. Not saying that Iowa State won't have some turnout as well, but yeah, I think that's going to be also. I'm with you though. I don't have my exact score. I think it will be by a possession or two. I think it'll be a tight game, but I'm going with Illinois. I think that it's going to be tough for Iowa State, even though the metrics say that if you look at the rankings of the other side of the ball, that's not as strong for both sides. Iowa State's offense in the last month has been around the 55 to 60 range. Illinois' defense is still around 100. So the metrics say that Iowa State's offense has actually been better than Illinois' defense. But I just think that, like you said, best player on the floor. I just don't think that Terrence and Marcus are guys that are going to get completely shut down as far as, even though it's a great defense. And Iowa State, I think, will have spurts of struggling to score. So I think Illinois prevails in a tight one, and that we have one more to cover beyond that. And we'll see. It's a great time of year, and UConn should beat San Diego State, but, crazier things have happened.
Let's just say if Illinois makes its way to the Final Four, boy, have they earned it. It might be an easier path to get to a national title game than actually get to the Final Four based on the two teams that they're going to play here in Boston potentially. Derek, can't wait for tip-off, man. It's here, and we get to cover a Sweet 16 game.
Can't wait. Let's go get a Sam Adams.
All right. Thank you all for listening to the Illini Inquirer podcast. Give us a follow, rating, review wherever you get your podcast. Like the page on YouTube. We appreciate you guys subscribing, hitting the notifications bell as well. Everybody have a great day. Take care of each other. We'll talk to you next time right here on the Illini Inquirer podcast.